Welcome back. Here right now with Jeep Sullivan. We're out here at Gap Pond in Washington County, Florida, part of Northwest Florida that's pristine, unspoiled, and evidenced by what we see here today. Jeep, you are the proprietor, the owner, the CEO and president of Jeep Sullivan's Outdoor Adventures, Inc. You've got the best job in the world to start with, but let's talk a little bit about your mission and the reason that you started this business. I know a little bit. We're sitting right now on a very nice airboat, so obviously you spend a lot of time outside. But what really intrigues us is the fact that you put a lot of time into working with what we call wounded warriors, folks returning from our various conflicts, going back to World War II in some cases. Obviously, so some of those guys still around, and giving back to that community, and in many cases to people that have been maybe not treated as well as they should have. Let's start at the beginning. How did you come up with this idea, and talk a little bit about your business and how you got started?
Well, I would say the business is not my idea. I think God put it on my heart a long time ago to have some sort of ministry in the outdoors, some kind of business in outdoors where I was I guess problem child when I grew up, and I got into trouble, drugs and just all kind of stuff, and I should have went in the military and didn't. Thought about it, didn't go do it, and ever since then, as a young man growing up, and I'm 50 now, doesn't seem, it just time flies, but as the older I get, I understand and I see the benefits. I see just all the time and effort that goes into keeping this great country safe and protected, and other places that don't have freedom like we have, but man, they want freedom just like we do. And our guys and our girls that go and do, this is just a small thing that I can do for them when they come back. Some of them, have been hurt. Some of them, like you said, wounded warriors. The old veterans, I've had World War II veterans on the boat with me and out in the turkey blind and sitting in deer stands and different things, and just trying to give back to them like they gave. Some, like the old saying, all gave some gave all. And so I'm just trying to, in the business part of it, just trying to give back to them. I formed a 501c3 company, and I've had people give to, from $50 to thousands of dollars, just wanting to help and try to see these guys and girls have some fulfillment when doesn't look very good for them, and it doesn't cost them a dime if I do something with them. It doesn't cost them anything. I do airboat rides and tours, trying to make a little money, pay for the gasoline and oil to keep it running, and just a great opportunity to minister and do the things that I've done all my life. I love the woods. I've been in the woods and on the water all my life, and I love it. I guess that's basically how it started, just out of a yearning to do something, to give back and do something for those that have done for us for years and years and years.
Well, you've been an outdoorsman your whole life, as you point out, but you're also an associate pastor of a Baptist church in nearby Bonifay, Florida. So when you point out the ministry part of it, it's a natural fit, it's a natural progression. World War II and even Korea to some extent were noble wars, and those returning people, veterans, were welcomed with open arms. Not so much Vietnam and some of those conflicts. Soldiers were spit upon when they got off the planes in some cases, and from that very time setting foot back on U.S. soil, in many cases not getting a fair shake. There's a lot. This is not a political show, but there are a lot of issues with the Veterans Administration and what have you. In your relatively small way, but with lots of impact, this is your way to let those guys and girls know that somebody cares. Yeah. And there seems to be more of an awareness for veterans. That luckily that does seem to be on the upswing. Yeah. There does seem to be somewhat more of an uptick in that sentiment, which is really good. I don't know that there'll ever be enough, but everybody does their part. In your case, you like to work with some of those people that have infirmities as a result of the conflicts in which they served. Talk a little bit about maybe one or two of your favorite adventures that you've enjoyed with some of these guys.
Well, I have my boat set up where I have a ramp, flatbed on the front, and a ramp, aluminum ramp that I can put handicap, you know, from veterans to anybody that has any, you know, impaired, you know, being able to physical getting around anyway, that we can put them on here and tie them on and them, you know, be able to get on here. I've got one guy in particular that I've turkey hunted and deer hunted and hog hunted, had him on here. We've fished and alligator hunted, you know, and him sitting up here in front of me in a wheelchair. And it's just neat to see them, you know, have some pleasure and, you know, there's not in a bragging way of any way. I mean, not, you know, patting Jeep Sullivan Outdoors on the back, but just being able to see those guys that normally, I mean, this one individual told me, you know, that I've had a lot of people tell me they'll do something and then not fulfill what they said. And I think, to me, that's something that we've got to get back to in America, is, you know, doing that kind of thing. When you say something, you know, handshake, so to speak, I'm there. And, you know, and then Glenn Hess, our state's attorney, his son Carter, he lost his leg last year in Afghanistan on IED, and was able to take him turkey hunting this past spring, and he killed his first turkey, you know, sitting with him, and just, you know, to get to see the joy in his, you know, in his eyes, and then, you know, just his demeanor after all that happened. The turkey he shot didn't kill it all the way, and, you know, had to go out and chase the turkey a little bit, and it was funny, and, you know, just real enjoyable to watch him and to hear him. You know, at the end, I run the turkey down and caught him, and, you know, I couldn't have ever done that, you know, and just laughing and having a great time, you know, just making them maybe forget some of the pain, some of the, you know, the stuff that they've been through, and they'll never forget it, but just being able to maybe replace it for a few moments, for a little while, is a great feeling.
You mentioned the fact that people have come to the table with donations, that people have inquired how can they get involved, and have been very willing to give to help you with this effort. I experienced that firsthand just yesterday. Happened to see you pull over in a gas station to get gas, and as I walked up, a man was walking away, and you shared with me that once it was somebody you knew, but once he found out what you were doing and this project you've got going on, he handed you some cash. Well, that's strong.
Yeah, it is, and just about every place you go with it, and you explain what you're doing. I mean, just like myself, some of them never got to go in the military. Some of them have been in the military, and they got something in their pocket, and they hand it. Say, here, buy some gas, or buy some cold drinks, or, you know, do whatever. People are going to give. They're generous. That's what this country was founded on, and the good of this country is still here. We just got to get back to the basics, and, you know, get back to God, get back to the family, get back to the stuff that really matters in America again. And I think this little ministry, this little business that I feel like, you know, God started, I feel like, you know, that it'll be a great opportunity to, you know, to show, you know, God's great outdoors, and just be able to help us remember, you know, that's what it's out here for us to stop, slow down a little bit, and whether you schedule it or don't schedule it, just take time, like they were saying, smell the roses, or get out here and, you know, smell the sawgrass, or, you know, look at it and just take time.
And what a perfect setting for you to be doing what it is that you're doing. Here in Northwest Florida, we enjoy such a wide variety of pristine natural resources. Right now, on a freshwater lake here, surrounded by cypress trees, and, as you point out, sawgrass, and frogs and snakes and gators jumping around us. Right now, in the middle of a bass fishing tournament here today. Some pretty good sized fish in here have been caught over time. And this is just one small speck of what we enjoy here. I know that you do lots of different activities. As it pertains to the airboat to start, what are some of the activities that you may take some of these guys on?
I do alligator hunts. We do bow fishing, gigging, fish gigging, frog gigging, airboat, tours and rides. Just about anything on the boat. The boat's 16-foot Heartline. It's a deep water hull, but it's the bottom's got 1/2-inch marine grade polymer on the sides and the bottom, and I got a almost 500 horsepower small block Chevrolet sitting on the back, and it'll run on dry ground. And it, like the old saying, the old airboat guys, I grew up down central South Florida, and they said, if you're gonna have an airboat, if it won't run dry ground, you should have bought a bass boat. So that's kind of, I wanted a boat that I could just, show people what a boat will do, and go up and run on dry ground, and then dump it back out in the salt water, deep, 2 or 3 foot swells, and it's sturdy and buoyant, and just a great time. Because as a captain on the boat, you're always looking for the things that are going to impede what you're trying to do, but you're always looking for an opportunity to kind of show out what the boat will do and have some fun. Because a lot of people up here in northwest Florida and Alabama and Georgia, around the tri-state area, have never been on an airboat. They've never seen one, up close. So the gas station thing, like you said yesterday, every time I get gasoline, I stop and have to put a bunch of gas in this thing. Everybody, they just, anybody that's outdoorsman wants to come up, or even outdoors woman wants to come up and look at the boat and kind of, see the shiny stuff on it and want to know what do you do, and being able to say, frog gigging, alligator hunting, that the swamp people have kind of brought that to the limelight now. But, growing up in Florida and being in the outdoors all my life, and, there's so many people in Florida that have done that and been around that all their lives, and it's just part of our life and part of the way we were brought up. And bringing it to TV like they did, it really kind of shed some light on really the great possibilities that we have in the great state of Florida.
Well, being an outdoorsman, obviously you like to hunt and fish and all the rest of it, but part of being an outdoorsman is just a reverence for those outdoors and natural resources that we enjoy. And those who are against hunting, against killing animals, don't realize that most hunters, and obviously there are exceptions to every rule, but most hunters are very conscientious in the way that they hunt and fish, and as far as conservation and respecting species that are maybe endangered. But again, part of that outdoors experience is just enjoying the outdoors, and like we are today, just riding on this beautiful lake. So I would imagine that if you've got somebody who wants to hunt or fish or gig or what have you, they have that ability. But there's got to be some of them that just love the wind blowing through their hair.
That's right. But it's just like a few moments ago, we're sitting here and the osprey come by, carrying a big stick, with some moss hanging off of it, and flew across the lake. Now, if you can't stop and look at that and just see the wonder and just the awesomeness of being outdoors, to myself, something's wrong with you. And that's the kind of stuff. I was down at Jolly, down by Live Oak Landing, down by Freeport a couple weeks ago, and had a couple guys I was riding, and a bald eagle, flew by, went over in a little head and lit in a tree way up in the top of a pine tree, and we just kind of eased over to it. Just you don't get to see that very often. And man, just any kind of bird, from a hummingbird to a bald eagle in the United States, is amazing to me to watch feathers do the way I duck hunt and turkey hunt, anything, stuff like that. But being able to see, all the different things, the alligators, the different frogs you see, the fish, just the deer right here on this same pond back in duck season. Just over here to our left, I had a doe laying out on one of these little pods of grass. The water was down, and we rode up, and we just stopped, and we're sitting there, and she jumped up and had 2 fawns with her, and they had to swim out of the pond. There was a little water hole, and they ran out and got on dry land. And those are the kind of times you just have to stop and say, man, that's what we're here for. to stop and realize that, you know, this world doesn't center around me. You know, it's not about me and Paul. You know, it's about us looking up and saying, thank you, Lord, for just, you know, the senses we have to take in all this grandeur.
Well, as we build, as we develop, as urban sprawl becomes more prevalent, obviously we're crowding out the wildlife. Yeah. We're very fortunate that we live in Northwest Florida, because I dare say it's one of the few places left in the United States, warm places anyway. I'm sure there are plenty of places that are maybe not a little bit colder than I'd care to live in that have this kind of wildlife, but here we've got a climate that's almost perfect. We gripe a little bit about when it gets too cold and a little bit when it gets too hot, but for the rest of the time it's just too nice to work. And to enjoy this and still have that abundance of natural game, fish, and the ability to just come on out here, and we don't have to worry about a condo being right over the hill or an airport right next door to us. All those things necessary, but you know, right now it's nice to get away from all that.
That's right. And most people, that's, you know, that's what they work for. You know, now there's some that are workaholics that they don't, that's all they live for is to work. But most people work to be able to recreate. And as you know, when you get out on a lake like this, and it doesn't matter where you're at. I mean, if you're down on the beach, on a flat, you know, you're sitting in Turkey Woods up in a pine hammock, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, just being able to stop and look and realize that, man, you know, this thing's a lot bigger than I am, a lot bigger than I realize a lot of time when I'm out there in hustle and bustle.
When we come back, we're going to be talking to Jeep a little bit more about Jeep Sullivan's outdoor adventures. But more importantly, we're going to talk about how you can get involved. If you like what you're hearing, if you'd like to come experience it, or if you would just like to maybe help enable somebody else to be able to experience this through donation, through some kind of participation, we're going to tell you how to do exactly that. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Still here in beautiful Washington County. It's a truly balmy Saturday afternoon. Yesterday in the 90s, and as you can see, I'm wet just from the humidity earlier today, but right now we're sitting on Gap Pond, and we've got a breeze. The sawgrass is rustling. We've got a bunch of guys in bass boats out here for a bass tournament today. Still with Jeep Sullivan, Jeep Sullivan's Outdoors Adventures. Jeep, I'm enjoying the conversation. It does get you back to your roots when you start talking about these things, the appreciation for nature, the appreciation for other people. If somebody wants to get involved, I know that you've got a website. What is that? JeepSullivan.com. Okay. Jeep, J-E-E-P, just like the car. I've been asked that about 1,000,000 times. Yeah, in this day of designer names, I guess they're looking for some kind of a odd spelling to it or something. That website is on the bottom of your screen right now. We discussed briefly the guy at the gas station giving you a little bit of a cash donation. I would imagine that you would really like to get some corporate sponsors. Obviously, I know you at least a little bit at this point, and I know you're not out there with your hand out looking for sponsors, but it does take money. You pointed out you've got to fill this thing up pretty regular. You're out here today, and let's not overlook the fact that you're out here today donating your time to a group of kids from AMI Kids, Northwest Florida. After this bass tournament's over, we're going to be giving some of those kids some rides out here. So in this case, it's a total cost for you today, but as you point out, that goes along with it. It's nice to be able to make a living, though, and to pay the bills. And obviously, without cash, you're not going to be able to continue to do what you're doing. So part of our effort with you is to try to attract some of those business partners. And here in a little bit, we're going to be explaining to you how you, as a business partner with Jeep, can help to make a difference. But more importantly, how you can actually get quite a bit of benefit from being a sponsor, a donor, a benefactor, and a part of Jeep's outdoor adventures. You have the ability, from a corporate point of view, to include some corporate logos on your boat and equipment. There's opportunities to do trips for instance, a corporation or a business who participates with you.
Yes.
I know that you've done some of that already, taking out groups. What would a trip like that do? You talk a little bit about the scenario of. I know you're doing some out of Spanish Fort, Alabama. How was it? How would a weekend transpire doing that kind of thing?
Basically, we meet at a landing ramp wherever prescribed, and we meet in the afternoon before dark if we're doing a night of bow fishing or alligator hunting or frog gigging or just riding, looking. And I basically just we'll go as long as anybody wants to go. So and I can take I can have 5 people, 5 grown men on the boat, and so it makes it fun. You can bring your people that work for you, people that work with you. You can bring your family. I've had wives and children with us occasionally, where the dad's just wanting his whole family to be able to understand and see what's going on out there at a different time than when we normally do, because getting out here on this thing at night with with spotlights, I give everybody a light where they can kind of look in their direction. As long as they don't blind me with it, we're okay. And so they just have a great time seeing things that you normally wouldn't, because most people can't you can't drive a car down a canal at night, so you can kind of see different things. And corporate sponsors, we're looking, I can do all kind of different things. I've mentioned before, we can do cast netting, we can do bow fishing, flounder gigging, alligator hunts, just riding. That's the fun part about this thing. You normally you drive down, you got to stay in the water, and as you've seen already, today you don't have to have water with this thing. It just you can kind of go wherever you want to, and kind of be respectful of people's property. You have to do that, and then the noise factor in the middle of the night, you got to be careful. You just don't make people mad, but it's fun.
Well, you point out a couple of things, and this is really interesting, because every time you answer a question, I come up with 2 or 3 more to go down that road. Number one, this boat, being an airboat, you don't have the traditional propeller, and you don't have the outboard motor and all of those trappings. So literally, you don't sit any deeper than you do when you're on your trailer, just about.
Right.
And so you can go those places where a boat couldn't go.
Right.
And then, as you also point out, that going to those places, whether they're accessible or not by regular boat, a lot of what you do is at night.
Right.
The other day, you and I were talking, and I said something about it. You said, "Oh man, that's when you need to go." Right. You see all the eyes looking at you from the trees.
Right. Yeah, that's the neat part. Everything changes when the sun goes down. Everywhere, on land and on the water, and being able to to hear the frogs croaking, and when you're frog gigging, they make all kind of noises, and it's interesting. People haven't heard a lot of things that they hear when they're on a boat at night, and it's kind of like the old everybody wants to be a cowboy. Well, when you get out on an airboat, it changes the outlook on everything, because you're hearing things you normally don't, you're seeing things you normally don't, and you can get to places that you normally don't on a regular boat, on a prop boat. So regular motorboat. So it's real interesting, and it's just up here in the Panhandle. It's kind of a novelty, because there's not a whole lot of airboat, personal aircraft where you can, or a personal watercraft that's got, a prop on it air prop where you can get, in different places. It just makes it kind of fun, changes up some stuff.
You've got the fortune of having partnered with some sporting goods stores, with some companies that are already in that business. In the Chipley, Washington County area, you've got some good friends with King's Outdoors. I know that part of your operation is out of Spanish Fort, Alabama, and you've got a Bass Pro over there that you work with. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, we're just starting that up. And Bass Pro is, probably the leader in the United States in outdoor recreation. Anything you need, anything you want, you can get there. And being where they're at on Mobile Bay over there, there's so many opportunities, because there's a lot of people from up northern part of Alabama. That's where they come to vacation. So we do stuff over there where there's not a lot of that over there either, where the same thing I said, the airboat's a novelty, and people do, instead of staying on the beach the whole time, you can get off the beach and see some things that you normally wouldn't.
Well, and that's part of our message to those who visit the world's most beautiful beaches in Panama City Beach, is that after a couple of days you're burnt, you're hot, you're sandy, you almost want a break. But if you come from Birmingham or Montgomery or Atlanta or any points north of there, the beach in itself is a desirable. But we have right here, just north of the beach, less than 45 minutes, 50 minutes, something that they don't have up there. We've got a terrain, we've got vegetation and wildlife, like what we hear jumping around us right now, that you just don't have up there due to their climate. So to me, if you're an outdoorsman, come to the beach, enjoy, get a little sunburned, park the family at Shipwreck Water Park, and then maybe come on up here and slip away and spend some time with Jeep.
That's right. As you look at all the different things to do at the beach, and all the different things that you go to the mountains to do, just having some little niche, and I guess that's probably where I fit in. Just a little small niche to that's family oriented. We try to cater to that, where there's no foul language and no alcohol on my boat or in a turkey blind or anything we do. We just try to take care of the dads and their sons, or dads and daughters, or husband and a wife that comes, and they don't have to worry about those kind of problems. So we kind of started the company just trying to, like we talked about a little while ago, just trying to get back to the basics of God and family. This nation that was built on principles that will last forever if we'll stick to them. Regrettably, I see our country kind of going in the opposite direction, and I guess that's another part of my dream, my vision, is just see this great country, this great people be able to realize that before it's too late and get back to what we're supposed to be. And I guess it's important today, very important.
Well said. If you're looking for a children-safe, family-friendly outdoor adventure, check out Jeep Sullivan's Outdoor Adventures. You can go to jeepsullivan.com. Again, that URL is on the bottom of your screen. Jeep, thanks for taking the time. I'm anxious to get out there and start looking around a little bit more, see what this lake has to offer. But thanks for taking the time out to park up here and talk. And maybe before the day's over, we'll talk a little bit more about what we see around here. But best of luck going forward. If you'd like to get involved, if you'd like to be a sponsor, a donor, a benefactor, go to jeepsullivan.com. You'll see a place right there where you can donate, make it very, very convenient for you. More importantly, you can keep up with what your donation is doing. There's photos, there's videos. Jeep is totally transparent when it comes to what he's doing, particularly if it involves somebody else's money. So you can feel comfortable in getting involved. We'll be right back.